Have you ever walked into a room full of strangers and felt your heart start racing? Your palms get sweaty, your mind goes blank, and suddenly you're convinced that everyone is judging you. That's social anxiety, and you're definitely not alone. Millions of people experience it every single day. But here's the thing, your brain isn't broken. In fact, it's working exactly as evolution designed it to work. To understand why we get social anxiety, we need to travel back in time, way back to when your ancestors were living in small tribes of around 50 to 150 people. Back then, social status wasn't just about feeling good. It was literally about survival. If you were kicked out of your tribe, you would die. There were no cities to move to, no internet to connect with others, no way to survive alone in the wilderness. Your tribe was everything. So your brain developed an incredibly sophisticated system to keep you aware of your social standing at all times. It became obsessed with what others thought of you, because what others thought determined whether you lived or died. This system worked perfectly for thousands of years. It kept your ancestors connected, cooperative, and alive. But here's where things get tricky. That same system is still running in your brain today, even though the stakes have changed dramatically. Getting rejected from a social group no longer means death. You can survive just fine without being invited to every party. You can have a fulfilling life without impressing every single person you meet. Yet your brain hasn't caught up to this reality. When you walk into that room full of strangers, your ancient tribal alarm system goes off. Your brain treats social rejection the same way it treats physical threats. It activates your fight, flight, or freeze response. Your heart races, your muscles tense up. Your thinking becomes narrow and defensive. You're experiencing the exact same physiological reaction your ancestors would have had if they encountered a predator in the jungle. Except the only predator here is the possibility of social judgment. Your brain is running survival software designed for a tribe of 150 people, in an environment where status was everything. But you're now living in a world of billions, where you can have meaningful relationships with people you've never met, where social rejection rarely has any real consequence. The system is outdated, but it's still incredibly powerful. There's something else going on too. Your brain is also dealing with something called the spotlight effect. This is the tendency to dramatically overestimate how much other people notice or care about what you're doing. You feel like everyone is watching you, evaluating you, judging your every move. But the truth is, most people are so wrapped up in their own worries, most people are so wrapped up in their own insecurities, that they barely notice you at all. They're worried about whether their hair looks good, whether they said something stupid earlier, whether anyone likes them. They're not spending their mental energy analyzing your social performance. Social anxiety also thrives on avoidance. When you feel anxious about a social situation, the natural instinct is to avoid it. You skip the party, you don't raise your hand in the meeting, you cancel plans with friends. And here's the problem. Avoidance works in the short term. You feel relief immediately. But in the long term, avoidance strengthens the anxiety. Your brain learns that social situations are dangerous and should be avoided. The next time you're invited to something, the anxiety is even stronger because you've reinforced the belief that these situations are threats. It's a vicious cycle. Anxiety leads to avoidance. Avoidance leads to more anxiety. Breaking this cycle requires doing the opposite of what your instincts tell you to do. It means staying in uncomfortable social situations long enough for your brain to realize that nothing bad actually happens. It means exposing yourself to the very thing you're afraid of, over and over again, until your brain learns that social rejection isn't dangerous. But understanding why you have social anxiety is the first step toward managing it. When you recognize that your brain is running an outdated program, when you understand that the stakes have changed, when you realize that other people aren't thinking about you as much as you think, something shifts. The anxiety doesn't disappear overnight, but it loses some of its power. Here's what's important to remember. Social anxiety isn't a character flaw. It's not a sign that you're weak or broken or incapable. It's a sign that your brain has an incredibly sensitive threat detection system. That same system that causes you anxiety also gives you the ability to be empathetic, to care deeply about relationships, to be aware of social dynamics. The traits that fuel social anxiety are often the same traits that make people kind, thoughtful, and conscientious. The goal isn't to eliminate social anxiety completely. That's not realistic, and probably not even desirable. The goal is to understand it, to work with it, and gradually to realize that your tribe no longer determines your survival. You get to choose which social situations matter to you. You get to be selective about whose opinions actually deserve your mental energy. You're no longer trapped by the tribal survival instinct that once kept your species alive. You're free to define social connection on your own terms. You can have a fulfilling social life without needing to be liked by everyone, without needing to impress strangers or maintain perfect social status. The ancient survival mechanism that once protected you can now be understood, managed, and ultimately transcended. Your brain is powerful, but you have the power to retrain it, to teach it that the modern world is fundamentally different from the ancestral environment it evolved to handle. This understanding alone can be transformative. When you know why you feel what you feel, you gain perspective and control. Social anxiety is real, it's common, and it's rooted in our deepest evolutionary biology. But knowing that makes all the difference in learning to live with it and thrive despite it.